Good morning again. Still here on the Beneva roadside near Ballantrae. I was reminded a while ago of another controversy. It doesn't seem likely, and it doesn't really mean that much to me, but it is pivoted on by corruption that I've been detailing in these reports. Just a little while ago, an old man who alleges being the former stepfather, Bill Love, whom I mentioned against in many reports, got into the traffic broadcasting north of here briefly, sounding irritated about the subject of Avalon Hill war games. What had happened was that back in, starting in probably mid to late 1967 or in early 68, I noticed for the first time some of the particular games in a Burdines store of Dadeland Mall in Miami, where I grew up in the Kendallwood development. Well, anyway, one day I was going up the elevator there, escalator of the store, and noticed the bookshelf games featured prominently, and they were displayed kind of like they were, they were specially displayed in plexiglass display format, and that they were designed to be bookshelf kind of games. Well, the first one I noticed, I was disappointed that it didn't feature anything of the U.S. in it. Was a game named Panzer Blitz. Well, it was an interesting game. It's detailed, and you learn history of World War II in it. It mostly featured Germany and the Soviet Union. It was all a matter of games pertaining to conflict that had happened between the Germans and the Soviets in World War II. Well, anyway, myself and another kid played the game fairly often back during that time, during junior high school. But then after that, I just lost interest in it. It was during a tedious time, junior high school, when there wasn't any socializing or anything. And the games take a lot of time. And by the time I was in actual high school, started in 10th grade, I just didn't play the games at all anymore. There was a couple of times of game board setups, once in the Navy in probably 76, but we got tired of it and just put it back in the box. And on another occasion during high school, probably in about 1972, but again got tired of it and put it in the box. So anyway, that was the Avalon Hill games was something that was interesting to me entirely during the time of junior high school. All it was games, and it didn't have anything to do with any politics or any beliefs in my life. I was a loyal United States citizen. But the indication is that the former stepfather, whom at the time had an aircraft parts business, had decided to pivot on the Avalon Hill games for conspiracy of his own. And I've got a new theory that I've just been considering. I consulted Wikipedia again about the matter just minutes ago, and was reminded that the history of Avalon Hill games featured in the Wikipedia article is drastically different than what I had experienced. I noticed, again, particularly 5 different games that I had purchased in Miami in the late 1960s that are listed as having actually an origin of being published years after. For example, the game that I mentioned already, Panzer Blitz, is listed as originating in 1970, but I know that the game must have been purchased sometime in either 67 or 68. So anyway, that is something of a significant difference. And another game that I had back then also must have been purchased in Miami in 67 or 68, was a game titled Arab-Israeli Wars. The history in Wikipedia listed as not starting until 1977. Very significant difference, maybe as much as 10 years difference. And another game that I had back then, Panzer Leader, was a follow-up of the Panzer Blitz game that included the Panzer Leader game included U.S. forces. Panzer Leader was situated during the war between the United States and the UK and France against Germany in the 1940s. The the Wikipedia history has it listed as originating in 1974. And another game that I had back then was named Tobruk, about conflict in North Africa between Germany and the United Kingdom. And that game also must have been purchased in 1967 or 68 in Miami, but it's listed as not having started until 1975. So anyway, the theory is that Bill Love, I noticed that the headquarters of Avalon Hill Company these days is in Renton, Washington. And the particular town indicates a possibility of involvement of Bill Love because of Bill Love having been there, and one of his daughters and her husband, who is a warrant officer in the U.S. Coast Guard in Renton. Of course, I hope good people in Renton, Washington are all right also. But the indication is that Bill Love built some real-life kind of conspiracy using, an argument of, well, how my son used to play these games or whatever. But the games were just games that I haven't actually played anything of since junior high school, and just a couple of setups soon after. So anyway, I thought I'd mention that I, through recent years, have heard that there have been there's been a lot of how you used to play these games. You would have, or you would, the way you used to play these games, and that they're associated with the Third Reich corruption and threats that I've been hearing also. So anyway, about the games, they were interesting, they were educational, and they, of course, besides teaching some history, they also taught a little bit about organization of militaries back then. But it was only a passing interest, and it was mostly when I was a minor, and didn't have anything to do with any actual military activity. The alteration of the game's origin in the Wikipedia article might indicate the former stepfather pivoting on military power. For example, well, 1970 was the year that we moved from Miami to Sebring, Florida. As I mentioned before, coincidentally, just about maybe 5 doors away from the house that the former stepfather chose on Lakeview Drive, North Lakeview Drive in Sebring, was a house that had a sign in front of it that advertised SS War Memorabilia. SS War Memorabilia. That it was a place that had a collection of items that featured, pivoted on the Nazi SS organization of Hitler during World War II. I wasn't interested in any of it. I walked into the place one time just to see what it was like, but I didn't purchase anything, and I wasn't interested in it. But apparently Bill Love had a lot of interest in the SS organization, and as I had mentioned before, the indication is that the father, who staged his death way back in '67, had also been secretly involved with SS kind of orientation, but I don't have any details. So anyway, that's the first listing in the Wikipedia history. It pertains to games that I had, and the next year that pivots on is 1974. 1974 was the year that I joined the Navy. And it was the year that I moved back to Sebring from Miami after a brief stint in college, Miami-Dade Community College. 75 was the first year of being in the Navy, and 77 was the year that I left the Navy and was back into Sebring. So anyway, for anybody that might be researching any of that stuff, I think that there is indication that the former stepfather pivoted on games in real life, and also the other student who I played games with, a man by name Mike Lyons, whom said he had joined the Army back then, and that when he was in the Army, he worked either in communications or with the Army's power company. That wherever they went, they of course had to set up electrical power, and that Lyons either worked with the power or the communications. It had been alleged that Mike Lyons himself started something of a cult of Avalon Hill wargaming, but as I said before, I mostly knew Lyons back during junior high school, and did associate with him on occasion after. But about the games, that had only been during junior high school. Hope everyone's having a good and a peaceful day, and as always, thanks for your consideration.